Hello, everyone. We all like to listen to music, isn't it? Music is something that makes us happy, that brings a new freshness to our mood, and makes us focus on things that we love to do. So, today's story is also such one which deals with music, which is all about music and how music can be something that can make our thoughts more beautiful, and it is a way through which we can express ourselves as well. So, the story that we are going to start today is Sound of Music. So, here you can see that there is a picture of a lady singing and dancing, and this picture is actually a still that is taken from a movie that was launched in the year 1965, which was also titled as The Sound of Music. Now let's move on to what the story is about. So before we start the story, you must remember that this particular chapter that has been prescribed in your textbook is divided into two parts. The first part we are going to learn today, and before we move on to the second part, we must understand that we shall learn about music and how music can help us in our lives, how music can change everything that we look around, how our perspective can change, how the way we believe, how the way we see can make a transformation through music. Music is not just something that we enjoy, but is also an expression, isn't it? So, the story in the first part is titled as Evelyn Glennie listens to sound without hearing it. And this story, this the first part of the story is all about the famous multi-talented percussionist Evelyn Glennie. Okay, so she is a famous percussionist, and her full name is Anne Evelyn Elizabeth and Glennie. So let's move ahead with the story. Rush hour crowds jostle for position on the underground train platform. A slight girl, looking younger than her 17 years, was nervous yet excited as she felt the vibrations of the approaching train. It was her first day at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music in London, and daunting enough for any teenager fresh from a Scottish farm. But this aspiring musician faced a bigger challenge than most. She was profoundly deaf. So here the story starts with a girl who is quite younger than her age. Means she looks younger than her actual age. So she was 17 years and she was very nervous. She was very nervous, and at the same time she was very excited also. Means she had both the feelings, the emotions of nervousness and excitement, as she could feel the vibrations, the resonance of the approaching train, of the train that was arriving towards her. And what was the reason? It was her first day at the prestigious Royal Academy of Music in London. So, the very famous university related to music, that is the Royal Academy of Music, which is situated in London, and it is frightening enough for any teenager. Means it is quite a big thing to get enrolled into such a prestigious university, into such a renowned university. But this aspiring musician faced a bigger challenge. But there was a much bigger challenge than this. And what was the challenge? She was profoundly deaf. She was completely deaf. So this story starts with a girl, that is, who is the main character here? It is Evelyn herself. So, in a way, this story is not a fictional story but a biographical excerpt in a way, because it is telling the story of a person. And who is the person? It is Evelyn Glennie herself. Okay, so let's see how she finally becomes this famous Evelyn Glennie, the multi percussionist. So she was born in Scotland. Now you can see where is Scotland. Scotland is a small country that is situated in United Kingdom. And she was a teenager when she had this opportunity to get enrolled, to get called into this prestigious Royal Academy of Music. But the problem was that she was completely deaf. And when did the problem start? Let's see. Evelyn Glennie's loss of hearing had been gradual, so she didn't lose her hearing power in an instant. It was something that happened slowly. Her mother remembers noticing something was wrong when the 8-year-old Evelyn was waiting to play the piano. They called her name and she didn't move. I suddenly realized she hadn't heard, says Isabel Glennie. So, when she was 8 year old, she was having a piano class. So she was called for the piano playing part, but she didn't move because she could not listen. And her mother, Isabel Glennie, says that suddenly she realized that her daughter had not heard that she was being called again and again. For quite a while, Evelyn managed to conceal her growing deafness from friends and teachers. So Evelyn hid this problem of her deafness from her friends and teachers. But by the time she was 11, her marks had deteriorated, and her headmistress urged her parents to take her to a specialist. It was then discovered that her hearing was severely impaired as a result of gradual nerve damage. They were advised that she should be fitted with hearing aids and sent to a school for the deaf. Everything suddenly looked black. So, here, after the parents came to know about it, somehow they guessed that something was wrong. The mother guessed that yes, something was wrong. So, however, Evelyn managed to hide her problem of getting deaf from her friends and teachers, but when she was 11 years old, it could not be hidden any longer. And the headmistress of the school, she asked the parents to consult a specialist, to go to a doctor. And when they finally did, they discovered that her hearing was weakened, completely weakened because of gradual nerve damage. Due to some nerve damage, she was not able to hear. And therefore, the parents of Evelyn were advised that she should be fitted with hearing aids and sent to a school for the deaf. And everything suddenly looked black. And Evelyn says that everything suddenly seemed as if there was nothing to do about it. There was nothing to think about anything more. But what happened after this? Did Evelyn break down? Did Evelyn grow weak? No, she did not. Evelyn was not going to give up. She was determined to lead a normal life and pursue her interest in music. So Evelyn was a strong girl. She had a huge interest in music and she wanted to continue her interest in music. One day she noticed a girl playing a xylophone. So one day, what does she see? She notices that a girl is playing a xylophone and she decides that she wants to play it too. So she already had a problem, and most of the teachers, they did not think that she would be able to play it. They were skeptical about it. But then there was one person who spotted her potential, who saw that she had the ability, she had the quality to play this musical instrument. And who was he? He was the percussionist Ron Forbes. So what did he do? He tried to encourage this girl, he tried to encourage Evelyn. He began by tuning two large drums to different notes. So he arranged two drums and put two different notes. And what did he say? He would say, don't listen through your ears. Try to sense it some other way. And Evelyn says, when Evelyn had given an interview, she says, suddenly I realized I could feel the higher drum from the waist up and the lower one from the waist down. So, whenever any musical instrument is played, generally there is a vibration, there is a resonance, there is a quivering, and that can be felt by the body. Even if you close your ears somehow and try to feel the music, you can also feel the vibration. And that is what Evelyn is saying. She could feel that vibration, she could feel the humming of the drum, the beating of the drum from her waist up and low. So, Ron Forbes repeated the exercise, and soon Evelyn discovered that she could sense certain notes in different parts of her body. So, certainly, no sooner did this exercise start, Evelyn was able to sense these certain notes in some parts of her body. I had learned to open my mind and body to sounds and vibrations. The rest was sheer determination and hard work. So, as she was completely interested, she was very much interested in music, she did hard work. She was determined that she has to continue her interest in music and she has to do something in the field of music. And that's why she decided that she will not give up. And she continued to train her body, train herself to feel those vibrations and learn music through it. She never looked back from that point onwards. Once she had started, once she had decided, she never looked back. She never gave up again. She toured the United Kingdom with a youth orchestra, and by the time she was 16, she had decided to make music her life. She auditioned for the Royal Academy of Music and scored one of the highest marks in the history of the Academy. So, she was just 16 years old when she had decided to make music her life. She gave an audition, a short performance in front of a board, and she scored and she got the highest marks ever in the history of the academy. And finally, slowly and slowly, she moved from orchestral work to solo performance. Orchestral work is generally associated with group work where a large group, a large band play together. From that, she moved on to solo performance. Solo performance means she was the only performer, she would perform alone. At the end of a 3 year course, so this particular course in the famous Royal Academy of Music situated in London was of 3 years, and by the end, she had captured most of the top awards. So, by the end of the course, she had already received many awards, many of the top awards. And all this, Evelyn wouldn't accept any hint of heroic achievement. So she said that there is nothing heroic about it. She said that if you work hard and know where you are going, you will get there. So her belief is that, what does she believe? She believes that if one works hard, if a person works hard, then they can achieve anything they want. They can get to that goal, which is their aim. They can receive, they can achieve that goal, which they have already set in their life. And she got right to the top. The world's most sought after multi percussionist with a mastery of some 1,000 instruments and hectic international schedule. So now she was the most sought after, someone who is wanted to be a performer in every stage, one who is called to every stage performance, and she had a mastery, means she knew to play 1,000 instruments. She was a master of all those instruments and she could play it very easily. And finally, she became a popular artist, a popular musician, and she was called to many places to perform. It is intriguing to watch Evelyn function so effortlessly without hearing. So, anyone who would see her performing in such a confident manner would obviously get fascinated and curious. They would want to know that how could she do this even without hearing in a 2 hour discussion. So, here, this particular information about this famous musician is being given by Deborah Cowley. Okay, and so in a way this is a biographical account. It is telling some part of the life of Evelyn Glennie. And Deborah says that when she had discussed this with Evelyn in the 2 hour discussion she had, she said, "Men with bushy beards give me trouble." So Evelyn had a good sense of humor and she said that men with bushy beards give me trouble. It is not just watching the lips, it's the whole face, especially the eyes. So she could tell who was telling what. And she was very easeful in telling. She could flawlessly speak. And why could she do so? Because till the age of 11, she could easily listen, easily hear, and speak as well. So she had nurtured that art and she was able to speak it properly. So that was no doubt because she said herself that she had learned the language until 11 she could speak clearly. But that doesn't explain how she managed to learn French and master basic Japanese. So the writer, for one point, also thinks that yes, that is an agreeable point, but she still is fascinated by the fact that how did Evelyn manage to learn French and master and also learn basic Japanese? As for music, she explains, it pours in through every part of my body. It tingles in the skin, my cheekbones, and even in my hair. So Evelyn is so passionate about music that she says that music is something that pours in through every part of my body. Music is something that is a part of her body. It tingles in the skin. It is like a sensation. It is like a stinging sensation. And her cheekbones, her face, and even her hair, it feels the prick of it. It can sense it. When she plays the xylophone, When she plays the xylophone, she can sense the sound passing up the stick into her fingertips. By leaning against the drum, she can feel the resonances, the echoes flowing into her body. On a wooden platform, she removes her shoes so that the vibrations pass through her bare feet and up her legs. So you can see that time and again she has showed that if you are determined to reach your goal, you can do anything. You can achieve it easily, effortlessly. But what is the most important thing needed? It is your hard work, the belief that you will never give up. Not surprisingly, Evelyn delights her audiences. So she was always delighted. She always made her audience happy. In 1991, she was presented with the Royal Philharmonic Society's prestigious Soloist of the Year award. So she was also awarded with the Soloist of the Year award. And James Blades, a master percussionist, said, God may have taken her hearing, but he has given her back something extraordinary. What we hear, she feels far more deeply than any of us. So you can tell, you must have seen many people who are very fortunate to have this creative skills with them. They are creative, they are artistic. And Evelyn Glennie was one such person. She is still alive and she is still performing. And you can see that many people were amazed, many people were fascinated by the way she was so confident while performing. She could make the people mesmerized by her performances, and that's why one of the master percussionists said that we also feel music, but the way Evelyn feels, no one like us may have felt like that. That is why she can express music so beautifully. That is why the music that comes out while she plays is much more beautiful through the years. Evelyn confesses that she is something of a workaholic. So Evelyn was a workaholic. She could not stop but continue working. often harder than classical musicians, but the rewards are enormous. So she was a hard worker as well as a workaholic. She loved to work. So from the regular concerts, apart from the regular programs that she performed in, what did she do? She also gave free concerts, means without any money. She would perform in prisons and hospitals. She would give priority to classes for young musicians. And she also is an inspiration for deaf children, the people, those young children who are not able to hear. She inspires them. She makes them believe that anything is possible. Evelyn Glennie had already accomplished more than most people twice her age. She has brought percussion to the front of the orchestra and demonstrated that it can be very moving. She has given inspiration to those who are handicapped, people who look to her and say, if she can do it, I can. And not the least, she has given enormous pleasures to millions. So, this is what the writer Deborah Cowley has to say about Evelyn Glennie. And no doubt, this woman who has this ability to mesmerize people with her music, with her skill, is something that must be applauded. So, what do you understand by this story? Why is this story a part of your syllabus? Because it shows that nothing can keep you away from your goal if you are determined, if you work hard. And this is a story which shows it. Evelyn Gilney, though she was not able to hear, though she had lost her hearing power, but her dream was to continue and pursue her interest in music. And therefore, with hard work, she continued to do hard work, she continued to work hard, and finally, eventually, she was able to make her mark in the field of music. She not only auditioned for the Royal Academy of Music in London, she also scored the highest marks. She scored the highest marks in the history of the Academy, and she had received many awards. After this, it was like a common name that everyone knew. Everyone knew the name of Evelyn Glennie, and people are still curious, people are still fascinated by the way that she can make this lifeless instruments make sounds that are pleasing to the ears. Though she cannot hear herself, but she makes the people listen to the beautiful music that comes out of the instruments. And she says that it is not about hearing, it is about the sensation, it is about the resonance that comes out from the instruments that makes her more and more carried away and more interested in working harder to produce more music, to produce more beautiful music. She is not just involved in music, she is not just involved in concerts, but she is also trying to help the people. She is trying to be an inspiration for deaf children. And she sometimes gives free concerts as well in prisons and in hospitals. So that is the story of Evelyn Glennie. And if you have time, you can go through the internet, you can go through the YouTube channels and find some of the programs where she have performed, some of the concerts where she have performed, and I think you will truly like it. And I hope that you enjoyed this story, enjoyed this brief story about Deborah Cowley, written by Deborah Cowley, and about Evelyn Glennie. Thank you.